All right, welcome to another edition of the Plus One interview. I got National NBA writer for the Boston Globe, Mr. Gary Washburn. We've been trying to get him on for a while, but we got him now. So, Gary, nice pleasure for you to join us.
Oh, great to be here.
All right, you know, tough right now. Basketball's suspended right now. Where were you when you first got the news of the NBA season being suspended?
I was in my hotel room in Milwaukee, watching. I think everybody was watching that Denver Dallas game, and kind of like just trying to figure out like what was going to happen the next day because there was rumors like, oh, they're going to play the game, Celtics Bucks game with no fans. If they're going to play the game, so we're kind of on edge. Everybody was like, oh well, everything's okay right now. I guess they're going to play. And I was watching like college tournament game. I think the ACC tournament was on. So I was flipping channels and stuff. And then they were like, well, they've held up the beginning of the Oklahoma City Utah game. And it was like, okay, why? Well, I wonder what happened. There's something happened at the arena. And then, when they came out sent both teams to the locker room, and then the positive test circulated about Gobert, all hell broke loose. So I was like sitting in a hotel room, like, wow, this is over.
Yeah.
Now this is real, because I don't think anybody thought that a player would test positive and they were just gonna keep playing until something happened, and something happened. So yeah, and then I flew back to Boston the next morning, and that was it. Everybody was just crazy.
Yeah, and it was like the ripple effect because when you find out Rudy Gobert has been tested, then you start looking back at some of the teams that the Jazz has played recently or the previous week, and one of those teams they had recently had a game in Boston too. So as fans and as other folks in the business around are starting to think, oh, Rudy Gobert has it. Now we have to worry about our own team, our own facilities, and our own players.
Yeah, they had played the Celtics twice in the previous 2 weeks, including that last Friday. So I think a lot of people were concerned. I'm a little surprised that more players didn't test positive. I mean, I don't know. There's a report of that young kid who said he got a Gobert autograph in Boston, testing positive. And then there was rumors circulating that Mitchell had gone to Donovan Mitchell, who tested positive too, had gone to the Encore Casino the night before the game. Mm-hmm. So like, who did he infect anyone? Did it spread? Did he spread it to anyone else? And I don't know how Marcus Smart was the only one, but obviously I don't, and we really don't know whether Marcus caught it from him. We could have been in the street somewhere. So it's just such a mystery to this, and I'm glad it seemed like all the players who contracted it have been cleared and don't have the virus anymore. But obviously, I just think it's been a real scare and a scary situation for the league. And I just think for everybody to realize how close we all are to each other in our everyday life. And, you go to a game and you're sitting next to somebody who you've never met, never seen before, and you don't know what they have. And now I think from now on, that's going to change. People are going to be wearing gloves, masks, just out, even after all this is over, whenever that is. I think that there's going to be a kind of a renewed safety, especially that I don't think anybody – I think, like, it's funny, like, you look at 20, 40, 50, 60 years ago or 100 years ago, and you'd be like, oh, this was canceled because of whooping cough, or this was canceled because of smallpox. And you laugh, you're like, oh, them old, and ain't had no medical supplies. That's crazy. How could something get canceled because of smallpox or a polio outbreak or something? And you laugh, and then you're like, well, damn, somebody 100 years from now is going to look at us and feel the same way. Like, how come they didn't have a vaccine for that? That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Coronavirus, I got that. I got the vaccine for that. Everybody can buy that. That's $5. I mean, that's how it's going to go. So I just think as advanced as we are as a society, we've been taught a real lesson about how a lot of things we don't control.
Yeah, definitely. Now, and then we started seeing more players getting it. Then you started to see Doris Burke caught it, and it was, you're just wondering like, wow, these people that are so near and dear to a lot of us that we watch, and you're just looking like, wow, it could really be any of us right now.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It'd be, and obviously the last few weeks you're seeing, older people who were already ill pass away from it. I mean, it's hard to go on Twitter, and just because we go on Twitter, someone's saying my aunt died of it, my uncle died of it, my grandmother, grandfather, my father, mother. This has just been very devastating. I mean, and it's all anybody talks about. You can. You can turn on ESPN and you see NFL draft coverage, or you can look at them getting athletes, on Zoom to talk about, but it doesn't really matter. It's like no one knows we're going to play again. And you turn to CNN and you look at the numbers and they're just increasing. It's like election numbers or a lottery where, it's like, or when they have a raffle or something, or where it's like, oh, we got $100,000 and it just keeps going up and up, the number of deaths and the number of people who have it. So, I mean, this is just a really scary time, and I think it's a life-changing time for all of us, especially young people who I think thought, I don't know if you saw that YouTube video, or some video from people who were at the beach in Florida. Oh, if I get it, whatever. I'm good. I'm gonna beat it. I'm young, and I think it's teaching young people like, hey, there's certain things being young doesn't win either. So I think this is going to change our society as we live, and hopefully we can get back to normalcy where we can all fill a stadium, 30,000 people, 25,000 people, or, at a Patriots game, 70,000 people, and be comfortable and be healthy. But it's going to take a while.
Yeah. Now, what have you been hearing as far as the NBA? Because I know I read the other day that they're hoping they can salvage the season. But from you, what have you been hearing from some of your contacts in the league about the season?
I mean, they want to finish the season. They do not want to cancel the season. It's such a great season. You're talking about history if you cancel the season. You're talking about a big freaking X mark of the 2019-20 season, like done, like no champion. Do you still have it? It's like baseball, the 94 baseball season. I don't know if you remember that far back, but it's like when you look at that season and all these numbers, and the Montreal Expos were leading the division, and they were going to go, they had a chance to go to the World Series, and all of a sudden, no season because of the strike. And they named MVPs that year, and it was just like MVP for like the first, 120 games, whoop-de-doo. Like, it taints the season, and it leaves a black mark. And this is not the league's fault, but I think there's hope that, okay, without the Olympics now, which I think is a good thing in terms of the league schedule, because the league didn't want to run up against the Olympics to try to get ratings or try to, complete the season when you got, the Olympic track and field going up against a playoff game. You don't want that, right? So I think now they know, okay, we can push the season into the summer. It's going to be unconventional. I think it's going to be unconventional for all of us. I mean, there's going to be summer basketball somewhere, whether it be the NBA, WNBA, I think, and push it till, hey, September, then push the next season back, have it start on Christmas Day. I mean, that's what's going to have to happen. I mean, this is going to affect sports for a couple years, obviously. With baseball now probably playing 100 games if they can. Football, we don't know what's going to happen because, I mean, we are like 4 months away from you start preseason games, NFL, and the college games start like October. Like I was supposed to go to a college game with my friends for my old school. That was August 29th. That's 4.5 months from now. I don't know. It was supposed to be in Las Vegas. I don't know if that game is going to go on. I don't know if they're going to let fans in the game. So that's only 4.5 months away. I mean, it seems like a little while, but in reality, with the state we're doing now, who knows? So I think they're going to try to have a centralized location where all these teams can be. Vegas seems like the perfect place because you have a lot of arenas for which you can play games, and they can make arenas. I mean, if you look at all these, you look at the T-Mobile where Las Vegas Aces play, the WNBA team. There's a MGM has an arena. Then Thomas and Mack where UNLV plays, and they have 2 arenas in there. One like a smaller arena and then a big arena, and then you've got like arena, the Orleans Hotel has like there's major like 6 or 7 venues you can play, and they're just going to like have one of these like AAU kind of things, where you're having like 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 games, like a 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, something like that. It's going to be unconventional. It's going to be a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. There's going to be an NBA game on, probably. That's the way they're going to have to do it. And I think everybody's okay with that. I think people understand, listen, like the whole TNT, 8 o'clock to 10, that ain't happening. We're going to have Mondays, Tuesdays. There's going to be an NFL preseason game on the same time as an NBA playoff game. Like, it's going to be a lot. But to get the season in, and then let alone like the NHL. The NHL is going to, have to get their games in too. So I think the NBA is going to try to play. They're going to wait to the last minute. They're not going to cancel the season May 1st or something. They're going to see how this month goes. They're going to talk. You read the news. Well, this next week's going to be the worst it gets. Okay, if that happens, by the end of the month, does it get better? Is it an improvement? Is there a vaccine? Is there something that happens dramatically that changes the thing in the next 3 or 4 weeks? Then the NBA will make a decision.
Yeah, because we already know this is already going to affect Summer League. There most likely won't be an NBA Summer League.
No, it'll be like I think it was like 2011 or 2011. The lockout, there was no Summer League, or whatever. So no, I don't think there'll be a Summer League, or if they could push it back to September or something like that. October. And have some kind of camp for the rookies, some kind of training. Who knows? They might not. I mean, there's going to be – they have not made any announcement about the draft. The draft is about 2.5 months away. Yeah. They're going to do a virtual draft like WNBA, like NFL. How are they going to watch guys work out? You're going to watch guys work out on a video. They're going to have personal workouts like these prospects, because there's going to be a lot of guys who are trying to get to the top 10 because I don't know if you looked at the draft. I mean, the draft is real. There ain't no Zions this year. There's a bunch of guys who are good but not great. Like what if a team wants to draft LaMelo Ball? I mean, you're going to go off his Australia games. You want to see him, right? You want to see him in person. You want to see how big he's gotten, how physically mature he looks, all that.
Even a guy like James Wiseman, we saw him for probably like 10 games.
Yeah, he played 3 games in college. And so now you're like, and he's been working out. But now he can't work out with nobody. So is he working out at the house? Is he doing like workouts with a guy who comes over and just throws him a ball? Like he can't run no 5-on-5 games. Like, so all of this throws everything. I mean, unfortunately, there's going to be some teams that have a bust on their hands. And it could be because of this, because you're going on college stats and college video. The whole evaluation process, the pre-draft camp that's usually in Chicago in mid-May, that ain't going down. I mean, let's be honest. So that's done. They're going to have to figure out how to evaluate these guys, or do you push the draft back to September and then have like when this all blows over, have like a camp where these guys can work out personally for teams and all that. And then what do you do with the draft lottery? Like, who has the number 1 pick? Do you have a lottery with the current record? Like, there's so much that has to happen. It has to be addressed. And I don't think the NBA knows. I mean, they're thinking they're going to make the right decision. Yeah. But what do you do? Is it the team with the worst record do you just shelve the lottery and just be like, okay, Golden State Warriors, you got the number 1 pick. You got the worst record. Atlanta Hawks, you're number 2. Like, is that how you do it? Because the season wasn't completed? Do you have a lottery with the teams that are at their current records and just like, we don't know? Because, there was 20 games left in the season. A lot could happen between teams getting like number 3 pick, number 4 pick, number 6 pick. Some people move down. Some people, let's face it, some people are going to start tanking, so before they're going to start tanking, they'd have lost 10 in a row or something like that. So it's so much that has to happen and be decided over the next couple of weeks or couple months.
Yeah, the NBA definitely has a lot of work to, and also with that, with the lottery pick, there'll be those, if a certain team gets the lottery pick, the conspiracy theorists will start coming in. Oh, the NBA just wanted to give them the number 1 pick if they do it a certain type of way instead of the way they usually do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. But also, too, like, there's no Zion out there. So if the Knicks get the number one pick and they get the kid from Georgia, Anthony Edwards, is that like, what, is he better than anybody? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there is no, even if you get the number one pick, there is no Zion, there is no LeBron, there is no, just like, okay, that's the dude, that's him right there, number one. Like, now it's Anthony Edwards. Edwards is a 6'5" shooting guard. The Knicks already have R.J. Barrett and Kevin Knox. The Knicks take them if they have the number one pick. Like, so I think it's a crap. This is a crapshoot draft, okay? And then you don't have these guys working out for you, so you can't make further evaluations. That's tough. What about the kid from Dayton? Like,
yeah,
like this kid could have played himself into the top 2 or 3 with a major tournament. Like, he was going to be the best player maybe in this tournament with the best team because Dayton was going to get him more seed, and now he's projected as 9th. I mean, if he would dominate, let's be honest, if we all saw him, because I ain't seen him, but like a couple of them dunks on SportsCenter. I did not watch Dayton at all this year. And if he does some stuff in the tournament and he thrusts to the top 2 or 3 picks, I mean, that hurts his value that he has no NCAA tournament. So, I mean, I just think if there's a year for teams to just really bust, this is going to be it, unfortunately. This is going to affect the future of some franchises who are banking on this draft to maybe help rebuild. The Warriors, wanted to get their lottery pick. It could be Wiseman, and they got great coaching, so I think they'll make the best decision. But the Warriors were counting on another young big man to throw in there and then join him with Draymond, Clay, and Steph, and then go run it back and try to be championship caliber again next year. So there's a lot that's going to be decided, and it's going to be crazy. But It should be interesting when all this lets up. The sports world you'll have football, basketball, baseball, hockey all going on. Then college comes, and then I mean, all these golf tournaments going to be made up. I mean, it's just going to be, there's going to be no breaks for sports fans. It's going to be great. So all the suffering we're doing now, it's hard, but hopefully there'll be a light at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, Obi Toppin. Yeah, I saw him play in person. I went to UMass when they played UMass. Yeah, he's the real deal. He has a lot of ability. But for a school like Dayton, this could have been one of those years. One of those schools like Dayton could win it all because there was no clear-cut favorite.
Yeah, San Diego State. San Diego State was undefeated for a while. It's sad. I mean, I don't know what they could have done with the tournament because they had played it with no fans, and there's no way they could have gotten away with a tournament with no. I mean, with the state of what everything was going on, have all these people in the arena, and then they had referees getting the virus too. So there was no way they could have done it. But this alters the programs. I mean, you got 1 year, like you build for this 1 year. I'm sure Dayton and San Diego State, this is the team. If we're going to make a run, this is the team you have every 15 years, guys coming back, some JC cat coming in, a great freshman, and then all comes together, then boom, your season's just washed out. I mean, who would to say, like, what we would have saw in this tournament with teams who was going to make the tournament? There were teams on the bubble. And let's be honest, man, like the BC coach basically Jim Christian kept his job because they didn't want to fire him during this whole thing. So he's coming back. Like, BC was done, and I think that the AD, young brother, said, hey, I don't want to fire this guy in these circumstances. We'll give him another year. So, I mean, this benefited probably Jim Christian because I think they were going to fire him because they lost in the first round of the ACC tournament again. They were kind of insignificant. It was not fair. I mean, they lost 2 guys over the last 2 years to the NBA.
Yeah. And,
but for him, it's a benefit. But we don't know what would have happened with Dayton, what would have happened with UMass. I mean, not UMass, with San Diego State, some of these other teams, Utah State, like there would have been major upsets. We don't know what would have happened with Duke or Kansas or Michigan State.
And if you look at a team like North Carolina, probably having one of the worst years in program history, and hey, and then
running back, like, hey, well, we don't know, we don't. They just bring the same guys back. I don't know if Cole Anthony's going to come out. He said he hasn't decided, or he won't make a decision now. But yeah, I just think that this is just terrible for college kids, and I feel bad. And you cover the high school sports scene extensively. These kids that are running track and playing soccer and volleyball, like they can't earn a scholarship now. Like, this could have been a spring where some of these kids, local kids, and kids of color, kids who need this scholarship, might have been able to earn a scholarship with a great season, whether it be in track and sports that, quite honestly, we don't pay attention much to because it's not basketball or football, but even baseball and track and volleyball and lacrosse, and their seasons is done.
Especially in baseball here, because there was some teams that were looking to repeat, a few seniors that were looking to go out on top, and
done.
It's not likely school's going to come back in May, so
it's kind of awful. You're talking to kids now who don't have a prom and don't have graduation, won't have a prom, won't have graduation. Like, this is their final year, and they're being in home with the coronavirus. Like, as much as we think, oh, kids get to be at home and they don't want to be in school. A lot of these kids want to be in school, and we won't get to see some of these kids earn scholarships through spring sports. Maybe there was a kid on the bubble who maybe had a Division II offer, but with a good track season, he might have gotten a Division I offer. It's rough. It's really hard on these kids, and for the high school and the college seasons to be wiped out. Just terrible.
Yeah, very terrible. And also, this past weekend, normally this is when it would have been the national title game would have occurred Monday, and over the weekend, the Final Four, and they announced everything. And NBA, the Hall of Fame induction class of 2020 was announced, and this is probably going to go down as one of the best classes in NBA Hall of Fame history. You got Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, Kevin Garnett, Eddie Sutton, Tamika Catchings, Rudy T. So many game changers and innovators going on, especially the big three in the NBA with KG, Tim Duncan, and Kobe Bryant. You look at Kobe Bryant and Kevin Garnett, they were, KG 95 coming out of high school, then Kobe Bryant 96 coming out of high school. They were the two that changed the landscape of high school to pros.
Yeah. I think Kevin Garnett, I think that there was this kind of like stigma against high schools, and then Garnett kind of broke the plane on that for the first time in 20 years. College was sort of mandatory, and even the one and dones. I remember guys like Tim Thomas and guys who were one and done. That was kind of frowned upon. Like, are you sure you're ready? And then you had, like Stackhouse and Rasheed in the same draft, went out there 2 years, and 2 years was kind of like, you better be really good. Mm-hmm. 1 year was kind of unheard of. In high school was like, no, you're not, you're not good. You're not good enough. Even Shaq, there are, obviously for young guys now, Garnett's a pioneer, because he made the jump. In the time when the league was hadn't seen a player like Garnett come in, you had centers like Ewing and Lambeer and these big lumbering big guys. It was still a big lumbering center league where you had the big man, the legit big, and then Shaq kind of came in 93, 92, and Mourning kind of revolutionized that. Like, no, you can run the floor, you can dunk, but you can also, you can alley-oop, like you can do different things. And then here comes Garnett, who's like a 4-5, and he comes in and revolutionizes the game. And he was a year old. He was 19 when he came out. He wasn't an 18. He wasn't really like 18 and or 17 and a half. He was 19, and physically, he might not have been ready, but he played for a team that Minnesota gave him a lot of minutes and let him improve, and he had a good leadership there. So, yeah, and then when Kobe came and people forget about Jermaine O'Neal, the same, and Jermaine went to a team and just didn't play, and then all of a sudden he went to Indiana and flourished. I mean, when Kobe did it, it was just sort of like, okay, these kids, it's time, and so kids started to make that move for what I think it was a 10-year period before they went to the one and done. I think Gerald Green was one of the last.
The '05 class, I believe.
The '05 was one of the. He was like the last guy to do it, and there was a couple other guys that didn't make it that weren't even drafted. But to me, Garnett makes, he's a pioneer in that sense. And then the contrast with him and Duncan. Duncan was a 4-year guy.
Yeah.
People thought, I mean, he could have came out after sophomore year very easily in '95. He didn't. He could have came out in '96, and then he goes and gets a full 4 years at Wake Forest, and comes out and just blends right into the Spurs system and becomes, a star pretty easily, pretty immediately. Where Kobe, people don't remember, Kobe averaged 7.6 points a game as a rookie. Kobe was not killing it as a rookie. He had flashes.
On and off minutes, playing behind Eddie Jones. And
he was the kind of the after the post Magic teams in LA was like Eddie Jones, Nick Van Exel, Eldon Campbell. So, Byron Scott had come back. AC, I mean, it was like, so there was a lot of vets on that team. So Kobe was not going to come in and do, Kobe dominated from jump. No, he didn't. He had his moments. You could see the talent, but he needed to play more. He needed more experience. And he always had that confidence, but he needed to, put it on the floor and put it in the results and not just look good, but hit the jump shot, be more consistent. So, it wasn't necessarily a smooth situation, smooth transition for Kobe, but, he was able, obviously, the next year, I think he averaged 15 points a game, and then all of a sudden they traded Eddie Jones away because they knew he was ready.
Yeah. It makes the All-Star team.
Yeah. So then he won the dunk contest in '97, and then obviously he took off. So I think, the legacy, this is an amazing Hall of Fame class. Some people could say, well, I mean, I don't like comparing Hall of Fame classes. Well, David Robinson, John Stockton, Michael Jordan. Yeah, I mean, the 3 Dream Teamers, easy Hall of Famers. Like, yeah, so you could compare this class. It'll be an interesting ceremony whenever it happens because of Kobe not being there. How will that affect the ceremony itself? Who's going to speak for Kobe? All that stuff is going to have to happen. It's going to be a lot of people showing up there to kind of pay tribute to Kobe. And you hate that taints, I don't know if it taints, but it affects the ceremony of all the other inductees too, because it becomes kind of a Kobe night. Yeah. Because we really haven't had a chance to honor him. I mean, there's been the funeral, the Staples Center thing, but we've watched all the videos and the highlights and talked to seen his own teammates talk, but this will be the night that he gets the real respect, and it'll be a tearjerker. But I think everybody understands circumstances, and will understand. But I think it's a great class, obviously, with Garnett, Duncan, Tamika Catchings, Eddie Sutton. About time for him. Yeah. Rudy Tomjanovich, 2-time champion coach, and a player. So, I think it's going to be an interesting night. I can't say it's going to be an enjoyable night, but it'll be an emotional night.
Yeah, definitely. And lastly, what do you have going on now? What do you got? I know you put something up, Sunday Notes. You talk about Jalen Rose and Chris Webber reconciling.
Just trying to find stories. Everybody's kind of in limbo at this point. Don't know when this is going to end. So you try to jump on the phone and talk to people. You try to get them on Zoom. You try to figure out what people think about how they should the NBA should move forward. So you just try to find stories at this point. You try to give readers something other than the coronavirus to read about. I think there's obviously still a high level of interest in sports. I think the NFL draft coming up will help take some attention away from the coronavirus. Who the Patriots are? The Patriots going to pick a quarterback. All these issues and things with the draft. Who's going to go first, and where's Tua going to go? Things like that. So I try to give the reader something to entertain them, and there's still stuff going on. I mean, there's still things going on, league issues that you could write about. But yeah, we're all in limbo. You try to find stories. Everybody's at home just waiting. And so, you just try to catch someone at home or catch someone who wants to talk. And there's a lot of players doing things for charities, giving away masks, medical supplies, things like that. Jason Tatum just combined with Bradley Beal, the Wizards, his St. Louis buddy, to give some money away. So there's also stories like that. So you just try to grab whatever you can and write about it. And just hopefully this thing comes to an end sometime in the near future where we can get to back writing about basketball.
All right. And lastly, before we get you out of here, if they want to find you, plug your social media for the people.
G Washburn Globe is my Twitter account. That's where I post all my stories, and you can follow me there. Sometimes I give opinions on certain things. I'm not a heavy Twitter person in terms of, tweeting that I saw Tiger King or things like that. So if you're looking for that, that's not me. I don't tweet a lot of general random things, but sports and basketball and my opinions on certain things, I will definitely tweet it out. I think I'm a pretty entertaining follow.
Yeah, if you're looking for something to watch, there's a doc on Stephon Marbury that just came out yesterday.
I gotta check that out. I heard about that. Yeah, I gotta check it out.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. And also on Netflix, there's a 4-episode series on it's called How to Fix a Drug Scandal. It's about the lab chemists in Western Mass a few years ago that were messing with the lab results and that had impact on people getting in jail.
And also there's the HBO doc with Christian Dawkins about I don't know if you've seen that. It's on demand about how this kid goes from basically being from high school. He was basically running AAU tournaments, and how he started working with agents and became kind of dirty and got caught in this whole like FBI scandal that involves like Sean Miller and other coaches. That was really good. I watched it last week. I'd heard about it, and I had heard of Christian Dawkins, but did not know he was literally like 28. So this guy was in his early 20s and making real money, like grown man money, but also doing kind of dirt at fresh out of high school. So it's a pretty fascinating story because it's out of his words. And, you'll think differently about some college coaches out there because they got some tapes and they got some things, things he admitted. So that's a good thing to check out too.
It's on HBO, you said?
HBO, yep.
I'll definitely check that out. All right, Gary, thank you very much. I was going to get into more about the whole BC coaching stuff, but that could be another time because, so,
saved his job. And I like Coach. I mean, it's hard to win in BC. It's hard to win in the state, and we can talk about this some other time, that all the players, all the good high school players leave. They all go to prep school. So, and you can answer me this, and I ask my friends who, I'm not from Boston, but I'm like, who's the best player ever to come out of the Boston public school system? And everybody's like, that's the question that a lot of guys can't answer. They'll say Shabazz Napier, or guys say Wayne Turner, who played at Kentucky in the late 90s. But, it's fascinating to see the high school basketball system. I was able to catch a playoff game a couple weeks ago, and I drove out what's the name of the one of them hyphenated high schools in the Cape, where Randolph High School played out there, and just to see the intensity of the games. And there's a lot of kids out here who get ignored because Boston doesn't have the greatest high school basketball, and that's sad that some of those kids don't get the attention they deserve, or when by the time they get to 9th and 10th grade, someone's telling them, you got to go to Tilden, or you got to go to South Kent, you got to get the hell out of Boston because no one's going to find you here. And how does that affect the BC program, where the best local kids, by the time they get to, they're not thinking BC,
Yeah, the best one from this year, he's going to Kentucky. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're not thinking BC. The thing that kind of made me shake my head was the guy from Utah Jazz, Georges Niang, who was from this area, said he had his heart set on playing in BC and they didn't want him. It was just like, how many kids say they have their heart set playing for BC? Not many. So, that's a fascinating program, and it's kind of, and we ain't even talked about BU. BU made the tournament, and kind of a surprise, and they don't get with their coach, Coach Jones, and don't get a chance to play it out. That's really sad too. So you feel bad for the BU kids.
And then Northeastern, they had, I think he was a 6th or 7th. He was in the top 10 in scoring in the country. Jordan Rowland. I mean, they almost made the tournament, but
they lost the finals.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, it's tough. But the BU kids. I mean, obviously they would have probably gotten Kansas or Kentucky or somebody in the first round and been a 14 seed. But hey, that's an experience you won't ever forget, and they won't get a chance. They didn't get a chance to do it, so that's sad too.
Yeah, very sad. All right, Gary. Thank you, sir, once again. You have a great one. I'll probably see you. I'll hop on tonight for the COVID-19 panel tonight. So I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good one.